Hi everybody, John from the Scenic Factory. In this video we're going to build a 15-inch distress tree. I'm not going to open up a package for this, we're just going to do one. This particular one, if it was packaged, is the PTK1-02, which is the distressed version. The trunk is a 5/16. It's 15-inch, which in 1/35 scale would be about a 40 to 45 foot tree. If you're doing it in HO scale for trains, it's going to be pretty towering. It's going to be in the 100-foot range, maybe 110 feet. What we're going to do is, if you've already watched one of the previous videos, I'll show you a couple of the tools that we use, just in case not. Our trusty snips. We use all kits are shipped with a T-pin in case you don't have anything. If you're going to build a bunch of these trees or even a couple, Excel makes this. It's about $3 or so. Very handy just because it's full size, much easier to use. Standard tweezers. And just this is all done with white glue. We're going to get right into it. Another thing to remember, which I say in the other videos, is these trunks, whether they're just trunks or trees themselves, are shipped with about an inch of extra trunk. These smaller ones, you're dealing with only about a ½ inch. So when you start the branches or do your actual height, just remember this is going to get cut off in the end. We use Dixie cups, or I use Dixie cups, and I use the back of them. It's just much easier to hold the glue. So we just put out a little bit. Now the height up, these trees, these can vary all over the place. If you're going to put a bunch of them in the middle, these can be very sparse. You can just put a couple pieces on of the actual foliage and dead branches and it'll look like a dead tree. So this is always totally up to you on how far you want to go with it. Another version, which I was going to originally do, is if there's going to be a couple of these together, one whole side can almost just be dead branch material. You know, a couple scattered pieces of the green foliage, and even that you might want to airbrush in the end, a little bit of tan or orangish tan to make it look dead. Alright, so we're going to get right into this. I'm going to start up about, say, 2 inches or so. And this basically is going to be just going back and forth between dead branch and the live foliage. The only main difference is going to be is anywhere the bark is missing in these areas, you're going to use a dead branch material. So to give me a base, I like to start with live branch. Hold the back. I explained how these are kind of fragile. Once you get up under the tips, you know, hold the back side as you're pushing against it. But all in all, they're pretty strong. So the first piece we're going to start with, again, this is all up to you, varies. First couple I put in without tweezers. A lot of times tweezers are just easier to hold on to. You know what, actually that's even a little bit too long right off the bat. Little white glue. Alright, we're going to figure out our starting point. Now these are going to be scattered. In a full-size tree we're going to go all the way around, just keep going up, keep it full. This doesn't matter, so I'm just going to put a couple in just to see where we're going to start. And then we're going to add the dead branch material. Again, these with the long tips, I pre-snip them off. Although they can be snipped off after the fact. I'll leave the glue right up top here. I put them in a clamp, and put them in a block of wood, whatever to hold them. Again, that's why we ship them with the extra material on the bottom, so you can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about destroying them. Here's a typical branch. You're actually going to wind up with 2. Snip them off. Take some of the long tip off it. And these can be trimmed in the end too. Don't have to do everything now, but if you know you're going to trim it, sometimes it's easier. Alright, this is going to be our starting point. We got a couple dribblies here. I want to go right into some dead branch material. These kits come with, it's pretty plentiful. Again, all the materials and all the kits, I'll almost guarantee you're going to wind up with too much. just like building models with the spruce, just have yourself a box or something to put the extras in. Even take the larger ones, just like the green foliage, and we're going to get a couple different branches out of this. On the bottom, they can vary all over, whether they're been dead forever or they've been snipped off. At the bottom, we're going to put a couple stubs in. But these are going to go, I'm going to go back down low again. To where there is no bark. Now I'm going to switch to some tweezers just to make it easier. Okay. We're actually going to put a couple right in. These don't matter lengthwise because all over a dead tree, they're stubby, they're short, they're all over the place. Now here's a nice one to give it a nice full dead branch. There's quite a bit on that one. And this dead branch material, if it's got a curve in it or a crown in it, make the crown and the curve go down. Now this dead branch material is glycerin preserved, like the other stuff, which makes it flexible. So you can manhandle it and it's not going to snap off on you. Now we're going to work up a little bit further with some more dead branch. I'll decide in the end, but even this bottom branch here, that's actually too long. And since I kind of know that now before the glue dries, I'm just going to take off a tiny bit. Just because from experience I know that that's going to be a little longer than what I want. So take it off, snap it right back in. Now again, as they come kind of big. I mean, if this was a bigger tree or even a bottom branch, you could use this larger. You could just stick the whole piece in. I'm going to lose a couple pieces of it. And again, the crown's going down. This one's a little stubbier. Now what I'll do is I'll vary it. As you notice, this whole side is plain bark. Or not bark, I'm sorry, bark missing. So that's why we're kind of riddling it with the dead branch. Now I'm going to alter it. I'm going to put a little bit longer one in. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, usually I do this in the end, but we're going to do some right now. Even in the bark area, we're going to put some stubs. Now pieces like this, with barely any branch material on it, we're just going to use them as stubs, just like broken branches at the bottom. Oops. Now these, you can usually put quite a few of these in. Even small, that you can barely see. Look good. They look just like the little broken off branches at the bottom. That's why when you do this, or you're doing a live tree, any snips, or get yourself a little spare container and basically save everything. One here, another longer one here. full one in. Again, you can't really see it, but this does have a crown and it curves down. There. Alright, now what I'm going to do, we're going to come up into some bark area here. I'm going to aim another actual foliage branch off. And once you get up in this tree is these 15-inch trees, it doesn't, you can reduce the size pretty quickly. So I'm going to throw in a little one. Not little, but not very long. Do the same thing. And again, when you get a big branch like this actually, you wouldn't get a branch this big in the 15-inch kit. But this has multiple pieces on it. So you can even stick in a small one and it'll blend in. Just keep going. Again, you can put as much or as little. As I described before, that's the fun about kits. I should remember where you just made the hole. I only do one hole at a time, just for that reason. Because you actually lose that quickly too. I'm just going to look, I'm going to spin around. A little more. Now this doesn't get densely foliaged, or can if you want, but it's not usually the case. Then you get these, get the little twisty tips on them. Snip it off, good to go. Now that's kind of sticking up, we don't want that. So take it and try turning it over first, see if we can get it to go down. That's better. Now you can put these holes in at an angle to make these droop down. I just a little bit. The space in the hole is enough to give it a little bit of a droop, and in short time it'll droop a little bit more. So unless you really want them drooping down. I got a piece of missing bark area here. As I work my way up, I want to get back to the dead branch. Now, I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to try to show you here. Now, if this wasn't preserved, this would just snap in half. But see how you can almost, I mean, you can move this stuff all over, which is kind of nice. And that's kind of a full piece. I think I'm going to use it somewhere. Just have to find the right spot for it. Intermix it in. Which I think we're going to do it right over here. Although realistically, I won't make it so fat. Let's take a peek at how we're doing on this side. Oops. Alright. You can see the area where it's all, there's a lot of actual missing bark on that side. That's why we put so much in the way of a dead branch. A little bit. Now this again, as in some of the other videos, this is the dyed Planosa. Again, we have both. I have to put an option actually on it because some people like the more distressed looking foliage. It'll be more variations of color, which gives it more illusion even of being dead or dying. These look great intermixed with other trees because that's usually how it is in nature. Oops. Put another semi-long one here. Okay, now we get some bark. We'll throw a little extra foliage in. And again, you can put half of this on and it would still look, it looks fine. So if you're going to be doing a bunch of them, they're going to be intermixed. You could probably do half of what I'm doing here and it'll still look fine when they're intermixed. Kind of gets lost in the forest. Right. Let's do a little more. I have it on a box just so you can see easier. A lot of times I'll do it lower, as long as it's on a somewhat firm surface. Alright, here's one that's just plain long altogether. We can snip off most of it. Now the pieces don't need to be a traditional triangle. They can be missing some pieces, like this one. Another option, whoops, it's actually a little bit long, is you can snap some of these off. Not snap off, but snap down 90-degree angle or bend them over, and you can airbrush some tan on them. Make it look like they're dead. Even in this position here, you can put some more on the bottom. Airbrush them tan. I got an open bark area here. We'll throw some shorter dead branch. Do not ever use solvent-based anything. I've said it in my other video. It eats everything up. It looks fine for a day, and then you'll come back and you'll be like, oh boy, what happened? Water-based only, and even that I wouldn't soak it. I'd airbrush it a little bit dry. In an upcoming video, I'm going to do some details, because what I do on the trees that we sell, complete trees or my own trees, whatever I'm working on, is I'll actually mix up some of this bark powder texture and I'll dab it on these dead branches, because usually dead branches aren't totally dead. There's usually little patchy pieces of bark, and we can blend them in like that. But use your imagination and do whatever you want. We also will put some dead branches in the bark areas. Get a couple here, and that's where you would want to blend it in with some extra bark powder, just so it doesn't look like night and day. Again, these you can make on your own. We have the bark powder. As I said before, once you do it, we go over the trunks that we sell and the trees themselves. We go over it a couple more times with some alcohol and ink washes. Got to be very careful. It re-softens this up. You have to dab it and then leave it, because it'll re-soften it up, and if you were to go over it with a brush a couple times, it'll actually it's just like it'll just smear it. But other than that, the bark texture is hard. Like by poking these holes in, it doesn't chip away, it doesn't go anywhere. Another thing with the distressed trees that we do, in the end I'll try to show you a little bit closer, is we use acrylic paints with alcohol. Let me see, I can probably, let's see if I can drop this down now there, to work up this far. Get rid of our trusty box. You can see up towards the top, you can see the reddish and the brown that we blend around to make it a little bit more realistic. Same with here. And actually the pictures on the website show it closer in detail. Sometimes you can't see that well in this kind of situation. But again, use your imagination. You can add, modify, do whatever you want to these. And again, this is the preserved plumosa, or asparagus fern, whatever you want to call it. And as I've said before, it might be a little bit long. It's not as easy as you think, but I totally do not want to deter you from doing it on your own. I've just taken a lot of the guesswork out, because a lot of times you don't know if it's preserved. It always looks preserved as soon as you do it, but it starts to change color and do some real funky stuff. Alright, we're going to go a little taller and a little scarcer here as we build our way up. Get some shorter pieces. And this is where things will start to change pretty quickly from medium-sized pieces to just shortening them right up. I want to add a little, throw in some more dead branch here. This is where you want to hold the back of the trunk. Okay, we're getting up into the thinner part. You want to hold something. That's why it's important really that you get as much in as you want. But there's many trees I make where I'm like, I got an empty spot. I don't have a piece here, but I'll take a piece of dowel or another tool, you know, and you want to hold it behind it, and then do your hole. You wouldn't want to go through this much trouble, and then all of a sudden, I need one more piece, and then you snap the tree in half. This is where even the dead branch material starts to get smaller, and shorter. Put some down a little bit lower again. You know, add enough to make it look realistic, but you do want to leave bare areas. Again, if you're not sure if the size is right as far as the branches you're doing, don't jump the gun and cut them off. Just wait. You can cut them afterwards if you know you look at it and you're like, eh, it's not really what I want. Unless you're definitely sure you can do it right now, but I usually wait till the end to do a final. I'm going to throw in some even smaller pieces here. And again, this stuff's actually pretty durable. You're going to lose a little needle here and there. Now, one way to know if it's not preserved, if you do it yourself, preserve it. Again, we dye this after, except for some of the distressed trees. Preserve it. You think it's all set, wait a week or so, and take it and just rub it, or even just flick it. If all the needles fall off, it's not preserved, it didn't work. Now you can spray matte medium on it. I did it. It seems to be okay. Again, no solvents, no spray clear, nothing like that. But I have sprayed matte medium, the very light coat, and that can give you some added durability if you want. But you really don't need it. You know, these trees you can actually bang around a little bit. Not that you want to do that after they're done, but and just sporadically. Yeah, you want to leave some space. We're at the area where it starts to get scarcer and scarcer. So I'll go up a little bit more and then I'll double check. But the purpose of these are to be scarce with foliage. Again, long tips you snip off. This one needs a little bit more. If you want to build a bunch of these, once you do a couple, it goes pretty quick. And for the look you get, it's well worth it. Now these come in sets of 3. 3 trunks. So you can get a bunch out of it. And again, you always wind up with extra material, so you can use that for either other trees, camouflage, depends if you're making a diorama or not. It's even a little stubby piece like that. Perfect. They don't all have to be pointed. Again, hold the trunk. Oops. Yeah, it's a little barren here. We got some dead branch going on, but we're missing a little bit. I'm gonna see. This is where I want to put something lower. I don't have a stick with me, but I'm just going to use. Just be careful. I'm going to use the back of a X-Acto knife here, just to hold on to the trunk. I want to put some more. Another piece of dead branch material in. And again, this, just like the foliage, take a piece, you can snip multiple pieces off. Bring it back here. As I find my hole. If you want to highlight these more before you start, you can lightly dry brush this if you want to get some added detail out. Because once you get foliage on it, it starts to hide. So a little light, very light gray, and very light dry brush. It'll start to look not realistic if you put a bunch on like you're trying to highlight the edges of something. Now we're going to start getting into some stubbier pieces, getting this high. Once again, I'm not paying attention, lost my hole. Oh, there it is. Now we're going to stubby it up a little bit. Now I'm looking even, looks alright, but being this high up in the tree, even this is starting to look a little bit long. Now I usually wait till the glue dries, but this has somewhat of a tip on it. I can take a good 1/8 to 1/4 inch off of it. And actually you can go back and forth and put a little tip on it if you want. I'm going to throw in some more dead branch here. Now the real fun ones to make are the real big ones, but you need a big diorama for it. You get another 22-inch, they look good on a diorama, but you need the room for them. The diorama we're doing, the Scenic Factory diorama, is going to have a bunch of those. Actually, we're going to even get some 26-inch trees on those, but that's 10 feet. That's a 10-foot diorama, so we have plenty of room, but that'll really give you the idea on what they look like. Now, as we get up to the top, we're going to use some smaller ones. So, we get a piece like this. I'm looking at it. I'm going to go 1, 2. I'll take the tip off, and probably 3, just out of that one piece. As you'll see, we'll be able to spread it out. We also have, we sell this obviously on its own. And the box size would be enough. You could probably make 20 of these trees with just a plain box or package of dead branch material. Yeah, we're a little bit bland here. So I'm actually gonna throw another piece in here. It's gonna be the tip of that piece I just showed you. Now when the glue dries, you don't see anything. But again, on to blend it in, which I'll show you, like I said, in a different video, you take the point right where it blends in, especially here where it's on the bark, and we'd add a little bit of bark texture on there, maybe a couple dabs out here. And you take a little alcohol and India ink mixture. Once that's dry overnight, dab a little of that, and that'll blend it into the trunk and make it look like it's supposed to be there. Again, since basically these trunks are shaped, sealed, gets the bark texture, then it goes through two different washes, different kinds of washes for with a black alcohol and ink mixture. That dries, then we go through and we lightly detail it with the acrylics to give it some brown and some orange, just like you see in nature. So it takes a little bit to make one of these, but the real some of it is untouchable. You know, for this or model railroad. Except for a diorama, I mean a model railroad, you're not going to want to mass plant these things. They look good. Looks good on a logging railroad or that kind of situation, but again, those were my roots actually, the model railroad. I still love seeing these kind of trees with a nice shade coming up the hill around them. And that's a little bit big, but I'm going to leave it while I work my way up to the tip here with some smaller dead branch. So you take a piece like that, we'll get too little, you're going to get into some pretty small nibs once we get up top here. But as small as they look, once you're on the tree, they look right. Although nothing looks cooler than a shade coming up the hill on one of these. Either there's a nice big tiger underneath it, look. Right, that's how small some of these pieces are going to be up towards the top. Though they look tiny in your tweezers, they look right once they're on the tree. And we're just going to throw very little foliage up top. And this is where pieces, even like that, just a strand, we'll take it down to size, but even something that tiny, but it looks right when it's on the tree. We're going to throw a couple of these way up top. It's sticking up a little bit. That will tap down a little bit. I'm going to throw a couple up here. Before I get to the tippy top, I'm going to double check, because now that I'm up here, even holding behind it, we don't want to ruin the whole project by snapping the point off. Now at this point, you can just look around on your table where you're working off of, and there's little pieces all over the place. But again, don't throw them out. Get yourself a container. You can use them for putting over the floor, you know, forest floor. If you're doing a diorama like this, use them for camouflage. You can just dust them with a little tan and orange paint. Tan and orange meaning not just tan. If you look at dead pine bows, unless they've been around forever, they usually have a little orange tint to them. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look I'm going to add another piece of dead branch down here, I think. Just because I think it could use it. Once I find my hole again. And again, when you have the white glue on it and you put it in, there'll be a little bubble of the white glue where it pushes in. Don't touch it. Once it dries, you're not going to see it. If you try to smooth it out, or you're just going to make a mess. Alright. Now way up on the tippy top here, I'm just going to add a couple more pieces of dead branch. Now I don't go to the tippy top because it's pretty difficult. And in a distressed tree there's not going to be anything growing that high up anyway. So I got a nice little piece here left. Got a little Y look to it. As tiny as it is. That's perfect. Alright, I'm going to check it out. Looks pretty good. Now what I am going to do, I'm going to put it back up on our box. I'm going to add a couple more stubs in the bottom. Now this is personal preference. I'll actually take a piece like that and I'll snip off the end to make it be like it was broken off. I won't put the nice fluffy end on it. You wind up with kind of an irregular piece. It's got a thicker stub on it where it would have been a branch and just a little piece of the branch material left. Again, you can take this as far as you want. A lot of times I'll go back, even the next day, I'll check it out and we'll add some more. And I've actually snipped off too, so if you're staring at it for a long time, sometimes it's best just let everything dry, walk away from it, check it out a little while later. I'll put one more over here. Now here I'm going to put, we're down low, I'm going to put this piece, nice Y. It's got a bigger branch and then it's got a little trailer off it. Alright. Alright, I think I'm going to leave it at that for now. This is where I'll leave it, let it dry, come back, check it out. We need to snip some things, we will. Take it right off of here. Give you an idea. Kind of look at it from the top. It's got enough on it to make it look half and half. And again, here's the, I don't know, on these trees it's about a ½ inch. What we do now is we cut this off with a hobby saw and insert a mount pin. The kits come with the mount pins, or you can put bigger ones in if you like. What you can also do is take one of these or a couple of these and actually just snip them off. Not off, snap them. They'll stay together, just to make it look with a little bit more dead, like it's been through a little bit of roughness. So there you have it. That is a 15-inch distressed version. Again, it's about 40-45 feet in 1/35 scale. It's a good 100 feet in HO scale. And these have the 5/16 trunk. You can get a little bit better view. I don't know the time we just had into that, but it will be once the video is out. We'll be able to tell. Alright, thank you for watching. Again, this is Scenic Factory. The scenicfactory.com is the store, and we also have the Scenic Dial, which there's a link to it from the website, which is going to have more information and more videos as we go. Like I said, I think the next video will be the details, show you how we do the acrylic detail blend, the bark blend. Maybe we'll even do some of the moss. It's not on pine trees as much as the hardwood trees, the light green moss, the patchy stuff that's on them. Sometimes that looks cool too. So alright, there you have it. Thanks for watching.